Okay, welcome this evening to the ScreenCast, the outdoor classroom. It should prepare you for our ecology sampling test tomorrow. The learning outcomes. By the end of this, I'm hoping you will all be able to define the terms here written in red, and you will have made your own pooter to use tomorrow. You will also know how to use the invertebrate ID key. So first things first, can everyone please make sure they have a pen and a notebook. You'll also need worksheet 1 and worksheet 2, plus the pooter DIY pack that I gave you in class today. Invertebrate facts. So invertebrates are really small animals. Some people call them creepy crawlies, but the proper scientific term is invertebrate. This word comes from the fact that they have no backbone. Their skeleton is on the outside of their body, which is called an exoskeleton, and it's a protective feature. Some of them have a hard shell, example the snail. Some have hairy bodies, example the spider, and some are slimy like slugs. So any invertebrate that lives on the land is a terrestrial invertebrate. If they live in the water, they are aquatic invertebrates, and if they can fly, they are airborne. We are only going to study the terrestrial invertebrates tomorrow. So think now of any invertebrates you already know the name of, and please jot them down on worksheet 1. So what do invertebrates need to survive? Well, basically, the same as us: food, water, and shelter. So food, what do they actually eat? Well, here's a plant, and the invertebrate that eats a plant would be a herbivore. A snail is a herbivore. If the invertebrate is a meat eater, it's a carnivore. And a centipede is a carnivore. He will hunt down and kill other invertebrates as his food source. Some invertebrates can eat both plants and meat. They are omnivores, and an ant is an ideal example of an omnivore. So where do these invertebrates live? Well, their home has a special name: the habitat. So habitat is not just a singular place, it's actually an area where they get food, water, and shelter. And a habitat can be as big as a rainforest or as small as a leaf. So can you remember now the 2 habitats we plan to visit tomorrow? A food chain. In order to study the diversity of our habitats, we will be looking at food chains. Invertebrates interact within their habitat. By interacting, I mean they eat each other, and this creates a food chain. So a plant always begins a food chain. Plants are the only living things that can produce their own food. They do this by capturing sunlight. Through the process of photosynthesis, they turn it into food. So the producers are plants. A consumer will eat a producer. A consumer can either be a herbivore, an omnivore, or a carnivore. It totally depends on what it's eating. So here in this food chain we have a producer, which is a plant. It grows, it gets eaten by a caterpillar. The caterpillar eats enough to get big and fat, pupate, and turn into a butterfly. The butterfly flies off, but then it gets eaten by a hairy spider. This is a very short food chain. You can see a herbivore and a carnivore. The food chains you will be doing tomorrow will be a lot more complex because you will have a lot more invertebrate data by the end of the day. But for now, I want you to either copy this food chain into worksheet 2 or compile your own food chain from knowledge you already have. So here's a food web. A food web is a lot more complicated than a food chain. It's all mixed up, as you can see, by all these red arrows. These are showing the relationships, the feeding relationships between the members on the food web. It is not linear like a food chain. So one member can be eaten by 2 or 3 consumers. Tomorrow's equipment. So you know we already have this list gone through in class today, and we have all of these items up on our desks ready to go tomorrow morning. The only thing that you do not have is a pooter. The reason you don't is because you're going to have the fun now of making your very own pooter. So the next slide is going to demonstrate quite clearly how to make a pooter. If you get your DIY pooter pack, you will be ready to make it. So follow the YouTube clip and come in tomorrow with a ready-made pooter.
Welcome! Today we're going to make a bug catcher, or what's technically known as a pooter. So here's one that we've made earlier, and it's very, very easy to make indeed. We've made it simply from objects you can find around the house, so you don't have to go out to the shops and buy any expensive equipment. So what you'll need to make your bug catcher or putter is a simple glass jar with a screw lid, some gaffer tape, 2 bendy straws, a pair of scissors, a small piece of cloth, a nice large nail, and a good sturdy hammer. So for this first step, what we're simply going to do is make 2 holes in the top of the lid using the nail and the hammer. And again, you might want to get an adult to help you with this, because once you've made the holes, there are some sharp edges that will be on the inside. So we simply get the hammer and give it a light tap. We're going to make 2 small holes, about an inch, inch and a half apart from each other. One hole. And 2 holes. So we've made the 2 holes using the hammer and the nail. We're simply just going to turn it over, and now we're going to make it a little bit safer by simply smoothing the edges that we've made, just like so. So for this next stage, we're simply going to cut the straws to the right length. So we need 2 bendy straws, a pair of scissors, and the jar to measure them with. So again, you might need an adult to help you with this, because the pair of scissors can be quite sharp. Mine certainly are. And so I'm going to measure my straws against the jar. And so I'm going to cut them so that the bottom of the straw comes about halfway down the jar. So that's just above where my fingers are. So carefully take the scissors, simply cut them. Just easy as that. So now my 2 straws are perfect. So next, we're going to tape the cloth over the end of one of the straws. We're going to take one of the straws and the cloth. And the cloth just needs to be wound around the end of the straw quite lightly. And using some of the gaffer tape, I've prepared a few strips. I've put one down here. Then we take the gaffer tape, secure the cloth to the straw. So now we've secured the cloth to the end of the straw using the gaffer tape. We're simply going to thread through the holes that we made earlier. I'll take the first straw, this is one of the holes. And then I'm going to secure it in place using some of the gaffer tape. This is simply so that no air can come through, so that when you suck and you're collecting your bugs, none of the air escapes. Simply wind it around the base of the straw, secure it so there. Doesn't have to look pretty, just has to be there. So there's one. Second one. So there's the lid all finished. The straw's nice and secure. We simply take the jar now, screw the lid on, and go and catch some bugs.
Okay, so now that you have made your pooter, I will show you tomorrow how to use it properly, but I need you to remember to use this key. So when you do catch your invertebrates in the pooter, you will be checking whether they have legs or whether they have no legs. If they do have legs, you will follow this key down along and use it to identify what type of invertebrate you have. Likewise, if they have no legs, you'll be doing the same thing. I've kind of cheated here and given you the answer as to how many legs the things you find will have. So you can remember to take this down at the end of worksheet 2 and you'll have it for tomorrow. And here is the recording sheet you're going to have to use. So up here you can see you will put your group name, the habitat type, that will either be the well-managed golf course or the natural woodland. You'll put the date. Down here is a list of the typical invertebrates I expect you to find. You will tell me which microhabitats you found them in. A spider could be hanging on a bush, an ant could be crawling up a log, a woodlouse could be under a rock. You will know when you find them tomorrow. You will then write down the number of legs that they have, and most importantly, the number of specimens you find. So 10 snails, 2 spiders. This column will be used to compare and contrast the 2 habitats we're studying. Finally, before we head out, I just want to make you aware of a few ground rules. So so be gentle with the invertebrates. They're very small and fragile. Move slowly and quietly as not to scare them off before you get to look at them. Look carefully because they are small and they are camouflaged. Do not stand and jump on the logs and rocks, because if you do, you will crush and kill all the invertebrates you need to study. When you have removed logs or rocks, please put them back the way you found them. Keep the slugs separate. They're so slimy and sticky, they will destroy all your samples. And lastly, once we've completed our study and catalogued the invertebrates we find, we will return them as close as possible to the place where we found them. So that concludes our screencast. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow morning, 9 AM, ready for an exciting day of ecology. Thank you and goodbye.